Have you ever wondered why there's such a backlash against green energy in America despite its obvious benefits? A strange irony, isn't it? Here we have a solution that could help us address our environmental woes, yet it's met with a surprising amount of resistance. This video aims to shed light on this curious contradiction. We'll dig deep, ask the tough questions, and maybe even find some unexpected answers. So buckle up and join us as we delve deeper into the roots of this surprising resistance. To understand the resistance, we need to go back to the beginning when green energy first emerged. It all began in the era of bell-bottoms and disco, the 1970s. Back then, America was in the grip of an energy crisis. Gas prices were skyrocketing and the country was heavily dependent on foreign oil. This sparked a quest for alternatives, and so the seeds of green energy were sown. In the initial stages, green energy was viewed as a fringe concept, a pipe dream of sorts. But as the years rolled by, the emergence of wind and solar power began to change the narrative. Wind turbines started sprouting up across the Midwest, harnessing the power of the gusty plains, while solar panels began soaking up the Californian sun. The goal was clear: energy independence, a way for America to control its own power supply, free from the whims of foreign oil producers. The journey, however, was not smooth. There were obstacles, challenges, and naysayers, but every revolution has its hurdles, right? Despite the headwinds, green energy began to gain traction. Government initiatives, tax incentives, and growing public awareness about the dangers of climate change all played a part in fueling the green energy movement. By the turn of the century, green energy had evolved from a fringe idea to a viable alternative. Wind and solar farms were no longer an oddity, but a common sight across the country. They were contributing a significant chunk to the national power grid, and the dream of energy independence was starting to look like a potential reality. But as green energy started becoming mainstream, it also started attracting attention, not all of it positive. With every change, there's bound to be opposition, and green energy was no exception. Critics started raising questions about the reliability and economic viability of renewable energy sources. Fast forward to today, green energy has become a hot-button issue, sparking a national debate. But to understand the present, we must first understand the past. And that, my friends, was the dawn of green energy in America. As green energy grew, so did opposition. But why? Let's delve into the factors that contributed to this resistance. First off, economic concerns. As the green energy sector expanded, it threatened traditional energy industries like coal and oil. Workers, fearing job loss, became vociferous opponents. This opposition was further stoked by corporate interests who stood to lose profits. For instance, in the mid-20s, major oil companies launched campaigns discrediting renewable energy, creating fear and uncertainty. Next, misinformation played its part. Despite green energy's potential to combat climate change, some folks were led to believe it was an unreliable and costly alternative. False narratives spread, such as the idea that solar panels drain the sun's energy or wind turbines cause cancer. These misconceptions, often spread through social media, sowed doubt and confusion about the viability of green energy. Political polarization also fueled the fire. Green energy, initially a bipartisan issue, became a political football. Some politicians painted it as an elitist scheme that disregarded everyday people's needs. Others used it to score political points, branding themselves as defenders of traditional energy jobs. This political tug-of-war further divided public opinion and ramped up opposition. Important events also fueled resistance. Take, for instance, the Texas blackouts of 2021. While the primary cause was a failure in the state's natural gas infrastructure, opponents of green energy falsely blamed wind turbines, further tarnishing green energy's reputation. Lastly, the green energy transition wasn't always handled with the utmost sensitivity. Some communities felt left behind, their concerns overlooked in the rush towards a greener future. This sense of neglect bred resentment and opposition. These factors, economic fears, misinformation, political polarization, pivotal events, and a sense of neglect, created a perfect storm leading to a revolt against green energy. The revolt didn't just create a divide, it had real-world consequences. Now let's delve deeper into the impact of this revolt on green energy initiatives. This resistance wasn't just a show of hands or a wave of placards. It brought about substantial changes in policy and a sharp decline in funding for research and development. The first hammer blow was to the policy framework. Green energy initiatives were not just sidelined, they were actively rolled back. Policies that once incentivized renewable energy were swapped out for those favoring traditional energy sources. The shift was dramatic, and it sent a clear message. The revolt was not just a social movement, it was a political force to be reckoned with. This policy rollback wasn't isolated. It was accompanied by a drastic reduction in funding for green energy research. The flow of dollars towards exploring new technologies and improving existing ones was severely curtailed. Projects were halted midstream, leaving laboratories and research institutions grappling with a sudden scarcity of resources. The message was clear: green energy was no longer a priority. But the impact of this revolt didn't stop at the shores of America. It reverberated around the globe. America's standing in the global fight against climate change was affected. As one of the world's largest greenhouse gas emitters, the U.S. has a vital role to play in curbing global warming. But the revolt against green energy put a dent in those efforts. It led to questions about America's commitment to the Paris Agreement, an international treaty to combat climate change. Yet, the story doesn't end here. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. The revolt against green energy was a setback, but it also sparked an unprecedented level of awareness and engagement. Individuals, businesses, and even some states began to take matters into their own hands, pushing for green energy initiatives even without federal support. The revolt has slowed America's progress in green energy, but it's not the end of the story. The next chapter is being written as we speak, and it's up to us to ensure it's a tale of resilience, innovation, and a sustainable future. With the challenges we face, what does the future hold for green energy in America? As we navigate this question, we must remember that in every challenge, there's an opportunity for growth and transformation. Despite the opposition, there are still numerous positive developments happening in the realm of green energy. Innovation, for one, is thriving. Creative minds are pushing boundaries, developing technologies that are not only more efficient but also more affordable. Solar panels are becoming cheaper and more accessible. Wind turbines are getting more efficient, and new forms of renewable energy, like tidal and geothermal, are steadily making their mark. Education is another key factor in the path forward. More and more people are learning about the realities of climate change and the importance of sustainable energy sources. Schools are integrating green energy topics into their curriculums, and countless online resources are available to anyone willing to learn. Public policy, too, has a role to play. Despite the pushback, there are lawmakers who are championing green energy, proposing legislation that would make renewable sources more prevalent and fossil fuels less so. But perhaps the most promising development comes from the people themselves. Individuals and communities across the country are taking matters into their own hands, installing solar panels on their roofs, advocating for wind farms in their towns, and making conscious choices to reduce their carbon footprints. They're proving that while national policy is important, change can also come from the bottom up. And let's not forget the corporate world. More companies are recognizing the financial and ethical benefits of going green, and they're investing in renewable energy at unprecedented rates. So, what does the future hold for green energy in America? It's a complex question with no easy answers. There will be struggles, setbacks, and opposition, but there will also be innovation, education, policy changes, grassroots movements, and corporate investment. While the path is rocky, there are still reasons to be hopeful. The green energy revolution may have encountered a revolt, but it's far from defeated. The path forward is filled with opportunities for those brave enough to seize them. Let's keep pushing, keep innovating, and keep hoping. The future is still ours to shape. Now that you understand the issue, what can you do about it? The answer is simple, yet powerful. We all have the potential to be catalysts for change in our own small ways. Green energy is not an abstract concept only discussed in scientific circles or political debates. It's about the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the world we'll leave behind for future generations. Educate yourself about green energy and its numerous benefits. Numerous resources are available online and in libraries that delve into the science behind green energy, its economical benefits, and its potential to significantly reduce our carbon footprint. Support local green initiatives. These could range from community solar projects to citywide recycling programs. When you support these initiatives, you're not only contributing to a more sustainable future, but you're also strengthening your community. Make sustainable choices. Choose electric vehicles over gas-powered ones. Opt for energy-efficient appliances. Even small changes like switching to LED lights or reducing water usage can make a significant difference. And finally, engage in the conversation. Talk to your friends, family, and colleagues about green energy. Share what you've learned and encourage them to do the same. Together, we can create a ripple effect of awareness and action. The future of green energy in America is not just in the hands of policymakers, but in yours as well. Let's make a difference together.